hello and welcome to India.
Thank you.
And Beauty Launchpad is glad to welcome you. And this is Aurelian Lis, as we know him. He's the global CEO of Dermalogica. And he's here on a special mission, aren't you?
Well, I hope. Thank you very much for taking the time to meet with me. It's a privilege to be in India again. I love the country. Yes, we're here because it's the launch, actually the global launch of a campaign called the Power of Pro Skin, which is a global consumer education campaign. Essentially, a very quick way to just think about it is that since 1983, Dermalogica has been teaching skin treatments to therapists. We teach 100,000 people a year. So it's a massive education, and that's what we've been about. It was only a few years later, actually, that we even created Dermalogica. We started as an educational institute. And we've been doing that for so many years with therapists. We also now want to work with the therapists to bring that education to consumers. And that's what that campaign is. And there are many parts of it. It's masterclasses. There's a widget, what we call is when there's a way of, on the web, to get a facial skin analysis using AI, all this. So there's lots and lots of parts to it, but that's the campaign. And no better place than to kick it off in India.
Sure. So what are you trying to achieve with the Pro Skin? Is there a vision to, of course, the brand footprint in India is pretty wide in the premium segment of the market. But with Pro Skin, what exactly are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve a push factor from the consumer for the brand, and it's already there for people who are really interested in serious skin therapy? But what's your
the overall goal? The heart of the brand is that it's an expertise brand, right? We celebrate expertise. We celebrate people who work with their hands,
sure,
who can do magic, right? That power of human touch. Our desire is really to sort of expand the knowledge that people have of why they would get a skin treatment. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the ways I see that happening is basically people understanding the level of expertise that a real expert can give you when you get a skin treatment, also the results. So this idea of like educating the consumer by giving them a bit of a glimpse into why you get a skin treatment, maybe they could even try to do a bit of that analysis alongside a therapist for a moment and just really gain an understanding of that expertise. And if that can come out of it, so it's obviously for us, it's important for the brand, but I think also for the industry, because what it does is it elevates the industry and hopefully brings a whole new generation of consumers into our industry, people who may be not getting skin treatments at this point. And there's just so much there, right? So it's an exciting campaign.
Thank you. And India has been for the longest time primarily a skincare market. Lots of professional brands have emerged in India, which have primarily initially just catered to the skincare business, and hair has always been there, not as a secondary service. Now, with more and more MNCs coming into India, hair has suddenly gained prominence in the last 10 to 15 years. But with Dermalogica, we've always seen that it's been at the cutting edge of scientific way of treating skin, and you guys were the first to introduce skin mapping, and all those things happened. So with the campaign, are you also trying to expand the consciousness about these protocols? What's the latest in protocols that you have?
Well, I mean, I think there's with a campaign, there's a lot of awareness building, right? So a lot of people don't know about Dermalogica. They don't maybe know that if you go to Dermalogica India, you can get an expert to answer some questions for you, that sort of thing. So that's sort of definitely important. I think the innovation in services is quite extreme, which is very cool. Whether it's the way we now, some of our newer Pro Skin 60s or 90s, which are the longer services, which are very, very customizable. Really, it's sort of a unique experience, like as we say, a unique treatment, different every time. And if you go, or we even have really quick services. And I think that the trend towards shorter services, which are very much targeted, they're not weaker versions of the longer, they're more targeted versions of the longer services. That's something that I'm seeing happening globally. And I think what's really interesting is it's also happening in different places. places.
Okay.
So historically, the only place you could get a treatment was that quiet room in the back,
Okay.
right, where the music's, the lights are dim, and
That's still there in India,
it is,
largely.
and it's still there worldwide like that. But very excitingly as well is now there's the treatment which comes out in the open, which is maybe in the public, maybe in the salon itself, or even at an event. We've been doing around the world now. We've been doing short 10-minute treatments, for example, even in shopping malls.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, it's not for everybody, but it is a really exciting place because other people see it. And if you want to get a whole generation of people who are not getting services, this is really good for the industry, I think.
Great. So Dermalogica has been in India for
12 years.
Yeah, over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you assess the growth? We know that it started with a distributor, and then you have grown rapidly with the Unilever merger. And so how have you mapped the market in terms of growth in number of accounts, loyalty built with the customer, and of course the kind of therapists you've recruited, how you've helped in skill development? If you could highlight all this.
There's lots of questions.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think about it, where we go is
yeah.
On an educational basis, we've got a very good global curriculum about how we bring people in, how we get them certified. It's usually 4 days of intense education, then you can go to specialist. If you take a few more classes, you get to expert even if you go further. When I see what I'm really excited about is the explosion in education in that way. So this year we educated, like in 2019, we educated just shy of 2,000, about 1,800. Next year it's about 2,900, in fact just shy of 3,000 people that we believe, therapists that we will be passing through our system. And that sort of educational base is important. In terms of number of accounts, we're quite selective. We're not. It's a big market, but we want to be in places where people are going to get that special treatment with an expert. So that's about 400 accounts or so, but it's growing. It's growing nicely, and it's a question of both quality and to make sure that we're doing it, and so we can support them in the proper way. There's also what I'm liking a lot about with this the new team that's been able to we've assembled for this. Essentially what you can think of it as our old team, who did a beautiful job for many years. Many of them are still in the team. Many of them are still there. Our educator has been there for 12 years, and so many others. But then we've added to that, and so we've been added. So now, for example, outside of Mumbai, we have more direct facilities, whether it's Delhi and in the other major cities around the country. There's more places to get Dermalogica, and there's more educators there as well. So it's a bit of a broadening across the Indian subcontinent, which is interesting as well, I think.
So you just said you're choosy about your picking up the accounts. So are there any particular criteria you have? How to
globally, we try to move together with services. So we think to ourselves, how do I have an elevated touch? Because the three words that define Dermalogica are education, personalization, and human touch. It's not always as obvious how to interpret those. It can be interpreted in different ways. But we want a place where there's an expert, where there's expertise. We want a place where people can get personalized attention, meaning that for their skin now, we call it skin condition rather than skin type, is how is your skin today? And human touch, where you get that sort of really special feel in communication, in one-on-one, or actually through a physical therapist. So that's sort of what we call the compass that we see the company through. So when we choose distribution, we try and work with places that bring that to life. And sometimes also I push the team very hard also to think of new places where that's going to go. So maybe, as I said, in other countries of the world, there may be even a shopping mall where we're actually the first people to bring skin treatments to that shopping mall in a way. So that's sort of an example of how we think of distribution criteria.
Okay. And retail is a big thing for you?
We work with retailers around the world. The challenge for us is to say, what does it mean to be a therapist brand in retail? It means that we use therapists to engage educate the consumer. We use therapists to man the live chat if there's a chat facility. So, so with therapists together, retail is a big thing for us. And whether it's very high-end department stores in the UK, for example, whether it's Selfridges or John Lewis, where we perform services, or if it's Mecca in Australia, it's really quite exciting places to be.
Yeah, but that's not happening yet in India.
In India, we work with we work with some retail here as well, but predominantly, for example, Nike, and sort of good. And again, it's always about the therapist. You know, wherever we go, that's what we are. We're a therapist brand, so we have to think about that when we do things.
So, what have your insights been about the Indian market in particular? You know, like you feel it's a very complex market? You think it's north, south, west, and east, the type of services that are consumed, in salons. So the percentage varies definitely.
Yeah.
So, what's your insight about skincare?
I think the interesting thing about the Indian market is it's actually more closely aligned with the hair market. So what we see more of is full service, as we call them, so both product, skin and hair salons. I feel like I see more of those here in India than I do in other countries. Sometimes in other countries we've got a very well established of skin-only salons, for example. But that's good as well. I think from a consumer, there's similarities and differences, right? Our product range is very extensive. The professional supplies we use and then the retail products, we've got more than 100 formula. So we've always catered to many, many skin types. And with businesses which are big in South Africa and Malaysia and Canada and UK and Australia and the US, and all the diversity in the US, we already deal with a lot of different skin types. So I think the interesting thing for me in the Indian market is maybe the distribution is slightly different, but in the end, the products work very well here as they do in other countries. The focus may be slightly more on some products on brightening, maybe as a sort of a more preferred service that, for example, we do. There's a beautiful peel that we do, for example, which works exactly on brightening. So it works. So there's a nice match.
Sure. And you've had quite a journey yourself creating a brand, and So I was just wondering, like India also has a big dermatologist, so cosmetologist market. And are you looking at it keenly? And do you think? I know that Dermalogica has a line of products for the dermatologists, but are you looking at pushing it in India? And what's your opinion about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think the interesting thing for me is the way the market has developed. A lot of consumers really enjoy some sort of machine, some sort of modality in their treatment, and so some of them do go in fact to dermatologists. As you referenced, the business I founded and I ran for 10 years before we sold it to a pharmaceutical company was exclusively to dermatologists and plastic surgeons. Prescribed solutions, but not available in India. I hasten to add. But it's this idea of using something to make sure that you get this treatment. And even a good example would be in various parts of the world we get involved with microneedling. You can get a microneedling service at the Dermalogica in Toronto, for example. And so we have an affinity for the machines as well as, and what we're very good at, I think, on a global level, is helping write protocols to say how do you combine the best in skincare and the best in machines. So that's sort of the idea of, and so we do work with some dermatologists. There are differences in dermatologists tend to have slightly smaller assortments, which makes more sense. They have products which work very specifically with machines, and the protocols are slightly different. But especially in a city like Delhi, there are a number of dermatologists, very prestigious dermatologists I've been meeting over the last few days, and it's quite exciting.
Yeah. So, while beyond that, we can talk about certain breakthroughs, because you have a very strong R&D and Dermalogica, and any breakthroughs that you'd like to share, and about anything you want to say about the future of skincare? We are.
I'm not allowed to tell you the future secrets. That's not legal. No, I would love to.
Sure.
You know, our research and development is crucial. Right? So I think every time, one of the things that I talk about a lot in the company is that every area of my company has to innovate, whether it's in technology or in product or in the way we do business and the way we service our clients. In terms of technology, we've got some new technologies. For example, I'm looking at these products behind us here, and there's a product like Skin Smoothing, which has active hydromesh technology, which is this incredible way of actually putting it sort of an invisible mesh on your face, which continues to deliver the actives, which deliver deep hydration. So we've got 48 hours of hydration there. There's Biolumin C, which is a beautiful vitamin C compound, which is much more stable, but 3 times the availability of the vitamin C in the skin. So there's so many good examples so that, I'd say every one of our products, we can bring something to market unless we've got a good research area. What I'm very keen on, having studied physics myself, is that we have scientific ways to back this up. So we spend north of $1 million a year just on showing the claims to be able to say the things we do in our products. So we want to make sure, one, they're safe, which is crucial, that's number one, but also that they're efficacious. And that's a really an exciting part. So it's I could talk to it 20 minutes on the exact science behind any of our products. But the important thing, I think, is that we have there has to be a reason that it delivers something that otherwise you can't see.
The anti-aging prescriptions you've got to make one never look.
You can work with alpha-hydroxy acids, you work with these novel forms of vitamin C, with the latest peptides. I think those are sort of most of the anti-aging work. But increasingly, it continues to go. I mean, it's in certain areas of the business, we've sort of realized in skincare that microbiome is a very important thing that we work on.
That's the latest.
It's one of the things specifically for products around acne and acne control is hugely important to both take care of the good bacteria whilst eliminating the bad. So, I think in every area there's sort of key technologies that we push forward with, and that sort of allows to make crazy claims. One of the new products we're going to be coming up with, which we've just launched around the world and will be here soon, Phyto Nature Firming Serum, we have a claim that we were allowed to legally claim that it moves 5 years from when you use it for 30 days. Before my lawyers allowed me to say that, they wanted very clearly visible evidence why we can say that. That's important.
Okay, so we have with products. So we would just like your quick response to the question on people. And we know that 100,000 plus therapists work with you across the world, and it's a brand which was born in 1986. So there's a lot that's happened.
Yeah.
So what are we doing with the people? And especially in India, we've got skill development as a major focus.
Yeah.
And the government as well. This industry is very people intensive. So could you just?
I think the interesting thing about skill development is it's a gift that keeps giving. Right? So ever since we were created, it was about how do you help somebody do something with their hands and make them professionals. And when we were created, there were not many licensed people, for example, in the States. Most states didn't have licensing. And so it was about the people who went through our program were then able to create a career. And nowadays, still, you have to ask yourself, why are you here? What are we doing? Why do we do this? Are we just doing it to make money? Do we just doing it to, because I have to? Or are we doing it because underlying, I want to leave the world a better place? And globally, we push very much. We believe heavily in vocational skill, or basically the skills of your hands, as a way to unleash potential, particularly for women around the world. It's really important. So we continue to push that whole skill, and in different countries it means different things in terms of whether we're helping somebody get into the industry or be successful in the industry. But if I see the industry worldwide, the number of jobs in beauty and in this whole area, which keeps expanding, whereas in other areas, people are going in. The jobs are really the threat from automation, from self-driving cars is going to mean that a lot of people aren't going to be doing very well if they only drive a car. However, in our industry, more and more people are needed all the time. So really, that's a very motivating thing to do, and we make sure that we push it. We have in different countries associations that help people into the industry and make them successful in the industry.
Do you have a CSR activity around?
Yes, I mean, literally in America, we work with female prisoners to help them get in and get a beauty certified, so to speak, so that they can run their own salon when they get in. In other countries, we work with formerly sex trafficked ladies who are now sort of, again, we bring them into the industry and help them. So there's that end of it. But we also teach 100,000 people a year. It's a big thing, right? And those 100,000 people go on to have good careers. So it's really, it's a very big thing for us.
Sustainability is a big thing. How you can,
one of the
global heating.
Yes, I think one of the biggest privileges of being in the Unilever group is that we have access to the experts on sustainability. So I have somebody I can call up and say, look, I want to make this packaging a bit better. I have somebody who can give me an answer immediately. And we've been using that for the last 2 years. So, for example, we set ourselves a commitment that by the end of 2020, we'll be 90% recyclable, biodegradable. We hit that already at the end of last year through a lot of changes. By the end of this year, we'll be 20% PCR, so post-consumer resin, which is basically recycled, upcycled plastics. We have all our garment packaging now is certified by the Forestry Sustainability Council. We're cruelty-free and as registered by both Peter and Leaping Bunny. So there's all these different areas, and the only reason I can rattle all these off is because we have experts to help us get there. It's still not good enough. We need to do more on energy consumption. When we go to 90, what about that last 10%? We go to 20, what about the next 80%? So we're not going to stop, and it is part of it, and we're proud to do it. And again, it's about leaving the world in a better place than we found it.
That's well done. So we have one last quick, fun bit where we talk about the CEO's personal care choices.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we love to hear from you what you do for your skin, hair, fragrances, etc. So we can start with skin.
Skin. Look, I mean, I have access to all these products, so it's one of the perks of my job. But Daily Microfoliant is probably a product. Sometimes Daily Superfoliant, but this is it's a powder-based micro exfoliator. It's one of the products we've been known for. It's a small powder. I use this in the shower. Okay? I like products which are easy to use. So I will mix that with a cleanser, like special cleansing gel, and then put that in the shower. And then after I get out of the shower, I use probably a serum, like the one by Vitamin C, which I referred to earlier, and then usually an SPF. That's about it. Sometimes in the evening, I will use maybe a richer cream, or sometimes I just use the same serum for the morning. All my family uses it. My little kids sort of love Dermalogica, although there's too many syllables in the Dermalogica that my 2-year-old can't really say it. It's more like Logica. So that is, sort of what I use. I find, apart from that, I try to keep things simple.
What about the hair care?
Hair care, good question. I use some of one of our sister brands is called Living Proof. So I use some of their shampoos and conditioners. I tend to change my hair care which is it's reasonably. It's very grey. It was meant to be blonde, but over the years it changes, which is quite fun.
And that's the trend now. You're lucky.
No, exactly. So there you go.
And what about the fragrances? You can name a few.
My God, fragrances.
Just a couple.
The thing about The thing I found, at least about myself, is that you're exceptionally loyal. So I've been using the same Chanel fragrance, Chanel Allure, for 20 years or something like that.
Which one is Chanel?
It's called Allure.
Allure.
Yeah. But I find that before that I had one other one. I think I've used 3 fragrances in my life.
Oh, wow.
So I just keep it.
That's quite loyal.
It's just loyal. I find it very simple to do it that way.
That's true. And what about the fitness and wellness part? Because that's most important these days when you're so traveling and stress.
I mean, look, I think in all of this, like eating well, having good skincare is really important. I work out a couple of times a week. I tend to go to, ironically at least, I go to Gold's Gym, which is, I think, available even in India.
Yes, it's very nice.
But the original Gold's Gym is in Venice, where I live. So Venice Beach. So occasionally, even I still see Arnold Schwarzenegger because I'm there on a Thursday morning. He's usually there about 7 o'clock on a Thursday morning. I go there twice a week before work. So that's quite a fun place. But I don't bodybuild or anything, as you can tell. I don't. It's more measured. It's more completed. And like many things in life, it's by appointment. So I'm lucky enough to have a trainer there. But I think that when I talked about education and good things you need to do, if you want to make sure they happen, make an appointment after it. Whether it's an appointment to see an expert, when there's an appointment to see a trainer, your consistency and the way you take it up is much, much better when you have an appointment. And so that's definitely what I need at fitness, because when I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, the fact I have an appointment half an hour later is very important.
So great. Being a great professional, I'm sure that keeps you happy. But is there anything that you do, like a meditation or something, add to that?
No. I do believe that meditation isn't my style. But what I would say is that I do make sure that I spend sort of quality time with my family. My wife is a driving force in my life. I've got 2 young kids, a 2 and a 4-year-old. And I wouldn't call it meditation.
That's a handful.
when you're a 2 and a 4-year-old. But
that's a lot of meditation, let me tell you.
But it's this focus on something else.
Yes.
So on a weekend, I work very, very intensely during the weeks, but the weekends are very, very private time with the family. And because you're so immersed with the family in that time, even though you're doing something and I like to be active, I find it probably has a similar effect to meditation for many, that you end up clearing, being able to refocus and think of the bigger picture a bit, as opposed to sort of hone in on that small thing that just annoyed you, or was going well, or wasn't. So it's part of it.
Thank you, Aurelian, for your time.
Thank you
Lovely
very much.
speaking to you.
Nice to meet you.